Have you ever thought about the energy that powers our cities and the energy that powers our minds? You might be surprised, but there's a hidden connection between the two, and figuring it out could make you way more efficient.
So, let me ask you this. Is every single bit of effort you put into something actually productive? I mean, think about it. Whether the electricity humming through the walls or the mental energy you spend trying to learn something new, there's often a ton of hidden effort that, while necessary, doesn't really get you to the finish line.
Okay, so first up, the power you don't see. We're going to start in what might seem like a weird place, electrical engineering. But stick with me, because there's a concept here from power grids that has some pretty huge implications for how we learn.
So in any standard AC circuit, you've actually got two types of power flowing at the same time. You've got active power, let's call it P. This is the good stuff, the power that does real, useful work. You know, lighting up a room or making a motor spin. But then you've got reactive power, or Q. The best analogy? It's like the foam on a beer. It's there, it's part of the system, it takes up space in the glass, but you can't really drink it.
Yeah, this stuff is often called wattless power. It's basically energy that's just sloshing back and forth on the wires. So why on earth do we need it? Well, devices like big industrial motors need magnetic fields to work. Reactive power is what builds and holds those fields up. Without it, the motor just won't turn. But here's the kicker. This power does zero final work itself. It's all setup, no final payoff.
So you might be thinking, okay, so it's unproductive, who cares? Well, you'd be wrong. Dead wrong. Power grid operators know that if you don't have enough of this reactive power, voltage levels can plummet and the whole network can just collapse. We're talking about a massive blackout. In fact, this was a major reason for the huge Northeast blackout back in 2003. So yeah, managing this invisible energy is absolutely critical.
Okay, now let's take that whole idea and plug it into the super complex network that's sitting right between our ears. Because as it turns out, our brains have their own version of productive and, well, not so productive effort.
Come on, you know the feeling. You spend hours studying, highlighting, rereading the same page over and over, only to wake up the next day and realize, poof, it's gone. That feeling of completely wasted effort, that's what we're diving into. What if your brain is generating its own kind of wattless power?
And here's what that looks like. Active mental power is the good stuff. It's the effort that leads to deep understanding and knowledge that actually sticks around. But reactive mental power, that's all the stuff that feels like work. Passively rereading your notes, cramming for a test at the last minute. It's high effort, for sure, but the results are just not there. It's mental energy that just circulates for a bit and then completely vanishes.
And you know what? This isn't just a hunch, it's a documented thing. Way back in the 1880s, a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered what he called the forgetting curve. It shows, pretty dramatically, how our brains are literally wired to just dump information over time. This curve is just like that energy loss in a power line. It's a natural leak, an inefficiency that we have to actively fight against.
So if our brains have these built-in inefficiencies, these memory leaks, can we do something about it? Can we kind of, engineer a better way to learn? Can we compensate for this tendency to forget, just like engineers do for a power grid? Well, the answer is a big, resounding yes. Our first tool is called spaced repetition. This is a super powerful, evidence-based technique that's designed to do one thing: fight that forgetting curve. Instead of cramming it all in at once, you review information at specific, ever-increasing intervals. It's basically you telling your brain, hey, pay attention, this stuff is important, don't you dare delete it.
And it's actually really simple. You learn something new, then you review it a day later, then maybe 3 or 4 days after that, then a week later, and you keep stretching out the time between reviews. Each time you review, you're strengthening that memory right as it's about to fade away. It's the mental version of what engineers do for the power grid, giving the system a targeted boost right when it's needed to prevent a total blackout in your memory.
Okay, so spaced repetition is great. It helps us build a really efficient memory. But just remembering a bunch of random facts isn't the same thing as truly understanding something, right? To really build knowledge, you need a plan. You need an architectural blueprint for what you're constructing in your head. And that blueprint has a name: Bloom's taxonomy. It was developed way back in the 1950s, and it's this brilliant framework that organizes learning into different levels of complexity. It's basically a roadmap to get you past just memorizing stuff. So think of it like a ladder. You start at the bottom with just remembering facts. Then you climb up to understanding them, then applying them, analyzing them, evaluating them, and finally, you get to the very top where you can create something brand new. The whole point is to consciously push yourself up that ladder, to move from just knowing things to truly owning them. So we have our efficiency technique, spaced repetition. We have our knowledge blueprint, Bloom's taxonomy. But let's be honest with ourselves. Learning can be a real grind sometimes. It gets tedious. So what provides the actual fuel, the raw energy to keep going when things get tough? The answer might actually make you laugh. It's humor. A fascinating study in the Journal of Business and Psychology by researchers David Cheng and Lu Wang looked into this. They basically asked, what if humor isn't just a fun distraction? What if it's an actual source of mental fuel? And the results were, wow, just incredible. They had students watch one of 3 different videos, something neutral, something relaxing, or a funny clip of Mr. Bean, before giving them a really frustrating, almost impossible task:
Get this, the students who watched the comedy clip tried almost twice as hard to solve the task. They showed way more persistence than the other groups.
The researchers summed it up perfectly. They said humor is not only enjoyable, but more importantly, it's energizing. So having a laugh isn't reactive mental noise. It is a real source of active mental power that can directly boost your performance.
All right, let's bring this all home. From the engineering of massive power grids to the inner workings of our own minds, let's talk about how you can build a more efficient, more powerful brain. Here it is, your learning toolkit. First, start thinking like a power engineer. Find and minimize all that reactive mental effort, like just passively rereading stuff. Second, use spaced repetition to build a strong, efficient memory grid that doesn't leak. Third, use Bloom's taxonomy as your blueprint to make sure you're building deep, real knowledge. And finally, don't forget your fuel. Use humor to stay energized and keep pushing forward.
So, we've seen how a concept from engineering can shine a light on the hidden inefficiencies in our own minds, and how something as simple as a good laugh can be a serious performance enhancer. And that leaves us with one last big question. If humor is one of these hidden sources of mental energy, what other invisible forces are shaping your ability to learn, to persist, and to create every single day?